Speed. Action, 30 seconds at the beginning, then a movement.
Sir Richard, I was so delighted to know that I was going to get to talk with you again because we talked during Gandhi.
Yes, I remember.
And I never had a chance to person congratulate you on Best Picture and Best Director, but I was in there rooting for you all the way.
Thank you.
And now that we're here to talk about Chorus Line, this is another picture I've been anticipating for a long time. Saw it, and I'm telling you in all honesty that I really think you have improved the property as a film. Some of the things that I objected to as a stage play are the very things that you've changed. Cut down some of the long monologues, given us something else to look at besides just the long line, and I like that very much.
Oh, that's marvelous.
You know, in television where we have to do War and Peace in a minute 30.
Yes, I do.
You see where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Okay. Now then, a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. First of all, whose idea was it to add a couple of new songs?
I think Marvin, but I'm not absolutely certain. It had happened before I was involved. It may have been Cy Feuer and Ernie Martin who are the producers, I don't know. But it was certainly in conjunction with Marvin. I think Marvin felt that Gimme the Ball was slightly passé in terms of bringing the thing up to date. And I think he wanted, as indeed he achieved with enormous success, to put a beat number, to put a mid-80s number in, which is the number that's replaced that, the number that Greg Burge does, which is a marvelous number called Surprise. So I don't absolutely know the answer, but I believe that to be so. And then he wanted to try something different, I think, in Cassie's big number, Let Me Dance For You, which is a beautiful melody, lovely melody. And I think that he was very conscious, as indeed everybody was, as I was, that if the movie was to find a cinema audience in the mid-80s, you couldn't simply, as it were, photograph the stage play and put it onto the screen. It had to have elements within it with which a young audience, and that's not a derogatory thing to say in any sense, but an audience of perhaps 16 to 24 could identify. Now, 11 years ago, if you just simply place that into the mid-80s, they may have had some problems. You needed one or two hooks, I think, and I think it was a very good decision.
The number, What I Did for Love, is now Cassie's number.
Right.
It had been Morales' number.
Right.
And some people will know right away that the emphasis is different because now she's talking about her love for Zach, whereas Morales was talking about her love for being a gypsy and the theater.
Right.
So again, now what was the justification?
I'm not even sure about that either. That decision also was totally taken before I had anything to do with the show at all, with the movie at all. And I think that there was a view when examining the lyrics that maybe there was a certain ambivalence within the lyrics themselves as to whether they really referred directly to a career, to dance and so on, or whether they had something or should have had something to do with a personal relationship. The lyrics are exactly the same. They haven't been altered in any sense. And again, I'm not absolutely certain. I found it much more acceptable in staging it for it to relate to Cassie and Zach in the movie, since we brought the relationship between those two people much more forward in the movie. We lifted it out of the line, as it were, much more than in the theatre. And I think once you do that, you need a sort of musical culmination of that relationship. And of course, What I Did for Love worked very well for that.
I don't know if you have seen it, Sir Richard, but the Time magazine review really surprised me as I was reading it. And then when I got to thinking about it, I thought, I don't know why I am surprised. What is your reaction to it? Because they said show 10, film 3, doing a takeoff on one of the numbers. So what was your reaction, sir?
Really bad reviews, which time was, are very tough to take in a way, and they're very tough on everybody involved in the creative process, because you've devoted a year, 18 months, 2 years, whatever it is, absolutely breaking your back in creating this piece of work. If therefore you you have a review which disapproves of what you've done, or doesn't think you've achieved what you set out to do, and suggests reasons why perhaps you haven't done it as they would have wished, but acknowledges that certain things did work, etc., 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 you're disappointed that the review is not what you might have hoped for, but you respect the person, you find ideas in it, and it is a constructive piece of criticism. When somebody like the gentleman on Time, whom I've never met and don't have a great desire to meet, writes a piece like that, which is snide, I think cheap, ill-informed, petty, I'm saddened by that. I feel rather sad for him. He must be a very unhappy gentleman, I think. I mean, to use Chorus Line for what amounted to a personal attack in a way on me, saying that I can't remember, I haven't actually read it. People read it to me over the phone, but he implies, I think, that nothing that I've ever done had any great, well, I mean, that I would avoid, the word controversy would be something that I would never possibly have anything to do with. When in fact, in all the movies that I've directed, I've been lambasted from here to Kingdom Come for standing on a platform and saying, I believe, and so on. And to say that my work is as controversial, or I haven't read it, so I can't quote him correctly. He did use one very funny phrase, which I must say I admire him for. He said it was about something as exciting as a cocktail party at the Swiss embassy, which I must say I thought was very funny. But I think that's silly criticism. I think that's, and apparently he demanded to be able to do the review, and I think when he demanded it, one of the other critics on Time was also hoping to do it, and I happen to know the other critic on Time was going to be very laudatory about the picture, you know. It was a bit unfortunate in a way. But I don't admire that kind of criticism. I don't. I think he writes for his fellow critics and for his friends. I don't think he really is informative or helpful in trying to guide somebody as to whether they might like to see the movie or not.
Well, Sir Richard, I've enjoyed talking with you very, very much, and thank you for your time. And if it's any consolation to you at all, I'm pretty good at predicting success. I'm bragging on myself, but I am. And I think with the audiences, this is going to be a just whopping success.
Well,
I hope so for your sake.
Thank you,
it
sir.
deserves it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stop.
And I cheated.
Just hold. Speed. Action.
Sir Richard, what is your reaction to the Time magazine review? What I Did for Love is now Cassie's song, and it's a different emphasis. It's her love for Zach rather than Morales' love for dancing in the theater. Now, what is the justification for that? And let me just do reactions now.